Hi, my name is Aya, you're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to do another recent reads video. So my reading has been picking up. I believe the last recent reads I did wasn't that long ago, so I'm here back again with the next 10 books I read. I'll leave the playlist I have for my recent reads linked for you, so if you want to know what I read the rest of the year, you can check that playlist out. Because I decided to stop doing wrap-ups and just do a video every time I finish 10 books. I'm still debating whether or not I want to do like quarterly wrap-ups. I don't know, we'll see. Leave that in the comments below, your thoughts on that. So this time around I had one DNF, one 2-star, 2 3 stars, 1 4-star, 1 4.5 star, and 4 5 stars. So pretty much a mixed bag, but a lot of it is a 4 or higher, so that's good. So as always with these videos, I'm gonna start with my least favorite and work my way up. So my DNF was The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. So I got to page 52 and I just could not anymore. So this one I actually read for a vlog, which I'm still debating whether or not I wanna continue on with that vlog, because this vlog keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. So I listened to this book on audio, and even that, it was just a slog to get through. I felt like this book was so slow and nothing much was really happening. I also watched the movie, and I do think I just prefer the movie over this book. This book is already, I feel it's unnecessarily long, and I felt like Henry was a creep. I don't know, just anything that came out of his mouth sounded so very creepy to me. And I'm sorry if you love this book, but I don't know, I just, this 30-year-old man hanging out with a 6-year-old girl just creeps me out, I'm not gonna lie. And that wasn't even the creepiest thing, because I'm just gonna read it to you. So apparently, so if you don't know, this is about a girl, Claire, who, her husband is a time traveler, basically. So she met him when she was like 6 years old, and he was already an adult. And he tells her that they're going to be married in the past, or they're going to be married in the future. And, you know, every couple, like, and every once in a while he will show back up and they will hang out, basically. And it seems random, like, when he travels in time, basically. And eventually they do meet each other when he has never met her, but she has met him several times over her life. And she actually is the one that tells him we're married in the future. So for me, it's like, it doesn't really feel like a romance, because, you know what, like, do you actually love each other, or do you love each other because the other one has told you that you're going to be married to them in the future? You know what I mean? So it's a chicken or the egg. Like, do you actually fall in love, or do you think you should fall in love simply because the other one told you that you're supposed to be together? You know what I mean? Like I said, I cannot really comment on it, considering I've only read the first 50 pages, but I have watched the movie. Granted, I've only watched it once a very long time ago. But the creepiest thing to me was when Henry meets his past self, when he's just a little boy. And the things that came out of his mouth is straight out of Kidnapper. It sounds like he's a kidnapper. Like, it sounds like he's there to kidnap a little boy. So let me just read it to you. Hello, I'm glad to see you, Henry. Thank you for coming tonight. So little Henry is like, where am I? Who are you? Adult Henry, you're in the Field Museum. I've been sent here to show you some things you can't see during the day. My name is also Henry. Isn't that funny? Would you like some cookies? I always like to eat cookies while I look around museums. It makes it more multi-sensory. I offer him a package of Oreos. He hesitates, unsure if it's all right, hungry but unsure how many he can take without being rude. Take as many as you want. I've already eaten 10, so you have some catching up to do. And then eventually little Henry asks for his mom, so he's like, where's mom? And adult Henry, she's at home sleeping. This is a special tour, only for you because it's your birthday. Besides, grown-ups don't do this sort of things. And eventually little Henry, okay, so, but how did I get here? Well, that's a secret. If I tell you, you have to swear not to tell anyone. Why? Because they wouldn't believe you. So I don't know, like I said, it just, that just gave me the ick. And then after that, I just tried for a bit, and then I just gave up on it. This is not for me. And yeah. My 2-star read really is based solely on me and who I am as a person. It's Transcendence by Shay Savage. So I read this for my reading popular books that came out in 2014. So I'll leave that linked for you. But this is a very, very, very beloved book from 2014. This is about a girl who, well, technically it's about a guy who is a Neanderthal. And one day when he is out trying to survive, this girl shows up dressed really weirdly and making all these sounds that he cannot comprehend. He immediately thinks, that's my mate and I have to put a baby in her, and basically it's their romance while they're falling in love. He doesn't know, but the reader knows that she's from the future and somehow she got transported back to caveman times. He is missing his Broca's area, which means he cannot speak and he cannot comprehend language. So no matter how much she speaks to him, he will never understand her. And that was my biggest problem with this book. Like I said, it's not a problem, like it's not offensive or anything, but to me, I just don't really, the way I fall in love with people and the way I fall in love with romances really is people actually getting to know each other through speaking. And that just is not possible here because he cannot comprehend, like he just doesn't understand. And I felt like this book was way too repetitive. Once again, all the things I didn't enjoy make sense for the story. So then in that case, it's just not my type of story because I mean, they're just cave people. So their lives are pretty repetitive. Like they go out, they have to find food, then they have to find shelter, try and make a baby, and then do everything again the next day. And that's just their lives over and over and over again. And for me, that combination with the fact that they could never really truly get to know each other since one of them cannot understand the other one made me not really enjoy this book. So I gave it 2 stars. Once again, I would still highly recommend it to you because people really love this book. And even if you read, like even people who read it more recently still really love this book. But it just wasn't for me. Now for the 3-star reads, the first one I want to talk about is The Hookup by Kristen Callihan. This is a college sports romance. You follow Anna and Drew, and they meet when they are in the same philosophy class, and they kind of banter back and forth, bicker back and forth. It's very obvious that he's very, very attracted to her, and she has some insecurities from high school where she just doesn't believe that he would actually be interested in her. So she just keeps pushing him away until one night their attraction for each other reaches boiling point and they end up having a one-night stand. And he wants to pursue this, but she tells him, you know, I'm only interested in like a hookup situation. And, you know, since he wants to, like, you know, take anything he can get, he agrees to it, even though it kind of makes him miserable. They basically follow them as they try to navigate this situation, and him trying to persuade her actually becoming an actual couple and her resisting at every turn. I just have come to realize that these kinds of hookup situations are just not really my favorite things to read about because one of the characters is always miserable. Like if one of them wants more than the other can give, then they are not actually together and happy. And especially in this book, I felt like this couple there was never a moment where they were actually together and happy. Like that only happened in the epilogue basically, and those are just not my favorite. Like I know that's different, that's personal preference obviously, but in my romances, I like for the couple to be happy and together for a little bit at least, and that just didn't happen here. And while I could understand Anna's issues and I could understand why she pushed him away, I just felt so sorry for Drew. Like he was such a good guy and he just didn't deserve to be treated this way. And so this is a book that was written in 2014. You can see that basically by like everything that happened in the last 100 pages, those are just not really my favorite because that just was just crap on top of crap on top of crap that happened to these characters. Like there was a very long drawn out 3rd act breakup. Then there was something that happened to Drew, an injury that also had an effect on the romance. It just was like not fun to read about these last 100 pages. I did really love their bantering back and forth. And of course, like I said, I love Drew. And you know, I love a good sports romance. And I felt like this was a very good sports romance. It just wasn't really for me. But I would still recommend it because it's not that long, only 300 pages, but it took me like 7 days to read simply because like those last 100 pages took me so very long to read because of my frustrations. Also, I feel like I might have been slumping at that time too, but once again, I feel like this is more personal preference, but I still would recommend it to other people. Then there was Stepbrother Dearest by Penelope Ward. This is a book basically told in 2 parts. The first part is them still in high school where he comes to live with her because his dad is married to her mom and he doesn't want to at all. And when they meet, he's very rude to her. And throughout those months, they slowly get to know each other, but he's resisting. He really doesn't want to get to know his stepsister. He doesn't want to get attached to her because his plan is going back to where his mom is from. And all of that, like the first part culminates in him taking her virginity the night before he actually leaves. And then the second part is 7 years later, where they meet again after basically his father died and he's there for the funeral. He has a girlfriend now. She is still hung up on him. And we see them, you know, trying to navigate what they are now. And eventually, obviously, it's their romance. So this was even shorter than the hookup. This was only 230 pages. I very much really loved the first 80 pages. And I preferred the first part over the second part, because the second part I felt had a lot of issues. So with second chance romances, you can tell them in basically two ways. Either you can... And this is, yeah, technically a second chance romance. Really, it's like a false start, second chance romance. So either you can do it the way she did it, like have the first part be them in the past and then the second part be them in the present. Or you can tell the story with flashbacks. And she decided to do both, which just, it's already a 230-page book. That, especially like those flashbacks. So she did it in like an interesting way, but still it took the momentum out of the story, and it was unnecessary to have so many pages of flashbacks. And obviously, like I said, there's a cheating element in here. They never really crossed the line, but I mean, they might as well have. So I was debating actually whether or not I wanted to give this a lower rating, but I did enjoy the first part enough to give it 3 stars. The first part very much felt a little bit like a bully romance, which it just made me want to read an actual bully romance. So if you have any recommendations for me, leave those down below. This hero also has a pierced dick, so that's fun too. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, so actually he's an author and the flashbacks are basically her reading his point of view in written form. I feel like she could have just done that a little bit better. And I actually read this also for my books I read that came out in 2014. So in that video, I just go a little bit more in depth describing what I feel like she should have done to make this like a little bit of a better story. Also, the audiobook for Stepbrother Dearest is very good. It's duet narrated, and that also added a lot to my enjoyment. The only 4-star I had was Caught Up by Navessa Allen. This is the second book to Lights Out, which I'm gonna talk about Lights Out a little bit later in this video. So this is basically a mafia romance. You follow Nico or Junior and Lauren, and this is also like a second chance false start kind of romance. So they knew each other in high school and they almost were a thing until people found out, and her father basically threatened him and his own father also threatened him to stay away. So he kind of pushed her away by saying that she made it all up. They never actually were a thing. Now 10 years later, she's a cam girl and he is her #1 fan. Like, he was literally her original only fan. And, you know, he has been watching her all these years. He has been requesting personalized videos for him. And now that her father died, he feels like it's finally his time. He can finally make his move. So he starts pursuing her, and she's obviously very reluctant considering he hurt her so much the first time around. Also, both of them are from this like Italian neighborhood that very much looks down on sex workers. So she feels like he could never accept her because she loves being a cam girl. And, you know, she questions whether or not he will accept that part of her. It was very fun. There's a spicy club in here that I also really enjoyed. But to me, I feel like the reason I gave it 4 stars instead of 5, whereas I gave the first book 5 stars, spoiler alert, was that I feel like there was no solid foundation built of why these two loved each other. I felt like this author relied on 2 things to have the reader believe in their romance. And that was the physical thing, the physical relationship, which is fine. It's obviously this is an erotic romance, but even in erotic romances, I still want to have the couple. Like I said in Transcendence, I still want quiet moments between them. I still want them to actually know each other. And I feel like she relied too much on, oh, this is a second chance romance. They knew each other in the past. They've pined for each other for 10 years. And that's why they make sense now. But to me, that isn't the case. Like, I still need them to get to know the other one, how they are nowadays. Because you cannot convince me that these two are still the same people they were 10 years ago when they were still in high school. At the end of the book, I realized these two never really went on a date together. Like a date where they actually like had dinner and try to get to know each other or anything. And it became glaringly obvious how she reacted in the 3rd act breakup to him, that she really didn't know him. so the leaps and bounds she made more sense for somebody who didn't know him, because if she had known him, she wouldn't have thought the things she did. So I did really love all the scenes we got with Allie and Josh. So Nico and Josh have this friendship going on that I really enjoyed. And I feel like she did set up the third book very well. So yes, I did a vlog reading this book and Lights Out, which I'll leave that linked for you. Then I finished Two Twisted Crowns, which I gave a 4.5 stars. So this is the second and final book in her Shepherd King duology, and the first book being One Dark Window, which I read for my reading BookTube's most popular romances of 2024 video. Also, this one I'm going to be reading for another vlog, which will come out at the end of the month, where I finish a bunch of series. So I cannot really tell you a whole lot about this book, considering it's a direct sequel. But the first book, basically I can tell you about this world. So this duology takes place in this country that is surrounded by mist. And there are two ways to have magic. Either you are born with it, or you get it through this like fever, and that type of magic is illegal. So if people find out, or the king finds out that you have this type of magic, he will exile you to the mist, and basically that is a death sentence. And doesn't matter how old you are, he has no mercy. And the second way to have magic is through these Providence cards. So there's like 12 different types of cards, and each card has a different amount made. Basically, there's one card that has 12 of them made, one card that has 11 of them made, one card that has 10 of them made, going on the list, like going through the list until one card is only made once. And basically, if you have a full set of cards, you can remove the mist. And that is basically what the king wants to do, because obviously this mist prevents them from basically thriving. And also, if you have a full set of cards, you can cure the people who have this magic through the fever, basically. But what the king doesn't know is that his nephew, Raven, and some other people also want to get a full set of cards. So basically, there's this competition going on, but the king really has no idea. You follow Elspeth, who is one of those children who's magical after a fever. And she has this voice inside her head that keeps yapping in her ear. And also sometimes helping her out. And she ends up meeting Raven, and eventually she gets caught up in this plot to try and get one like full set of cards, because one of her abilities, thanks to the voice inside her head, is that she can actually see the Providence cards based on their color. So even if they're hidden or something, she can still know, okay, so after, like behind this bookcase is one of the Providence cards. You can also say like which one based on their color. What's interesting in this magic system is that the magic has a very severe cost to it. So one of those cards will grant you a certain ability, but if you use it too much, it will have a very severe consequence, which I always like in magic systems. Brandon Sanderson talks about that if you want to, like as an author, if you have a magic system, it needs to have consequences too. Otherwise, it's just boring. So the first book is basically Elspeth and Raven falling in love, and also, you know, trying to get this full set of cards. And then the second book is everything that happens after a very big cliffhanger in the first book. But also in this book, there's another couple introduced that I very much enjoyed. So I cannot really spoil that too much, but I love that second couple so much. I gave the first book 5 stars. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I did really enjoy it. There was something a little bit missing. I don't know, I just felt like it just took me a long time to read it. There was a little bit less intrigue for me in this book than there was in the first book, but I still very much enjoyed it. I would highly recommend this duology, but it is very slow burn. And also I don't feel like it's a romantasy. To me, this is very much solidly a fantasy, but with a romantic side plot, because I feel like this story would still stand on its own even if there weren't romances in it. But I really love it. I can definitely understand why this was a lot of people's favorite book and series they read in 2024. Now for the 5-star reads. I did try and rank these, but I mean, I loved all of them. The first book I want to talk about is Lights Out by Navessa Allen. Like I said, I did a vlog for this book, and I very much preferred this one over Caught Up. This was very, very hyped last year, and I can definitely understand why. So this is a stalker romance, and you follow Allie, and she's a trauma nurse, and she doesn't really have time for love in her life. She is obsessed with these masked men on TikTok, Instagram, whatever. And one night, she decides to message the guy she used to hook up with 2 months ago and try and see if he wants to wear a mask and kind of chase her around. And he respectfully declines. He's like, you ghosted me for 2 months. I'm already seeing somebody else. Get bent, basically. But he does end up showing that message to his roommate Josh, and Josh is flabbergasted because that is a picture of him in a mask. So he's one of those masked men on TikTok. And what his roommate or Allie doesn't realize is that he has been stalking Allie ever since he saw her at their apartment. And now he feels like, okay, so this is 3, 2, 1 action for me. She's obviously interested, so I'm gonna add up the stalking. So what he decides to do is go to her apartment, break in, and ends up filming one of his thirst trap videos on her bed. And of course, since she's his #1 fan, she watches it and she realizes, wait a minute, that looks like my bedding. Wait a minute, that looks like my closet. But of course, she, being the sane person that she is, doesn't really realize that he's actually in her, or she doesn't think that he's actually in her apartment until she comes home from a very long shift and realizes that his mask is on her bed. And now she's kind of, you know, on the one hand, she's freaked out, but on the other hand, she's also kind of turned on. But obviously she wants to know who this person is. And she also starts questioning, wait a minute, I always thought he used fake blood. What if he actually murders girls and that's actually real blood? But eventually they do actually meet. Him still masked because he doesn't want her to actually know who he is. It's clear that she is into whatever he's doing. And obviously, eventually she does realize who he is. I also listened to this book on audio while reading it, and the audiobook is a 10 out of 10. It's so fucking good. Also duet narrated, and at one point they have one of their meetings and he wants to speak to her. So he uses a voice modifier and that makes his voice so deep, and I was just swooning while listening to it. It was so good. This is ridiculous, obviously, but I just thought it was so much fun. Like, I had the best time reading it. It was so entertaining, and I felt like, so comparing it to Caught Up, which, I mean, I want to compare these two a little bit. Even though, yes, Allie is also crazy, kind of, because, I mean, who would agree to everything that happened here? I just felt like both Allie and Josh were more self-aware than especially Lauren in this book. Like, I felt like they knew what they were doing was wrong and that they were kind of crazy. But, you know, they were like their own brand of crazy. And I felt like, and another thing that really made I preferred this book over this one, is that Lauren had Josh's back every step of the way. And she gave Josh the benefit of the doubt every step of the way, whereas I didn't feel like Lauren did that for Nico in this book, so that's why I preferred this one. But I did think these two were very fun books and very highly entertaining, so I would recommend this series, and very interested to read the third book. Then there was Rewinded Back. So with a little bit of time, even though it's still 5 stars, like after I first finished it, I was like, this might be my favorite in the Windy City series. But with a little bit of time after reading this book, I realized that it's just not the case. I still really loved it. This is the 5th and final book in the Windy City series. You follow the long-awaited Rio book. And this is a second chance romance between him and Hallie. So they met when they were 11, when her family moved next door to his. When they were 16, they actually fell for each other. And at 19, they broke each other's hearts. And he, ever since then, has moved away from their town. And he is obviously in Chicago now. As you could see in the rest of the books, he has been trying to find love. Ever since he moved to Chicago, he has been on countless dates and never really found the one. And he had to watch each and every one of his friends fall in love. And one day he gets to his house and he sees Hallie there. And he's like, what are you doing here? You need to leave. And she tells him, I'm your neighbor again. And he also hired her to renovate his house. And obviously he didn't know who she was. She renovated his next door neighbor's house and he was very impressed. So he hired her. And then when he finally sees her, he realizes, wait a minute, I hired you. So at first he tries to push her away, and then since obviously Rio is a very good guy, he realizes that she really needs this job, so he relents, and this is their second chance romance. Both of them never really forgot about the other one. Like, there is a hurdle of them actually being together, considering, you know, both of them were very hurt the last time they were together. Also, their families are kind of connected, obviously, since they were neighbors. And when they broke up, not only were they hurt, but family members of them were hurt as well. I really love this book, like I said, but this is I believe this is my third favorite in the Windy City series. So not my favorite, like I said, when I first finished it. I love Rio. I just love the way he loves her, how much he loves her and how much he's willing to do for her. I just love that. It's commendable. It's mesmerizing to me. And I really love these two. Yes, I did have some criticism about what broke them up last time and the way it lingered so long and what a big deal it was made out to be. But having said all that, it was beautiful. I loved seeing Rio finally get his happily ever after, and I loved seeing this group of 10 happy together. It was beautiful. I am very much looking forward to seeing what else Liz Tomforde will write. And I also really loved, so this is called Rewind It Back, because Hallie used to make these mixtapes. Basically, anytime she had a new memory, she would listen to a song. She would choose a song for that memory so that anytime she heard that song, it would remind her of that memory, which I love that addition in here. And so there are flashbacks, and I also really loved teenage Rio and Hallie. I just thought they were so cute and adorable together. So yes, I really loved it. 5 stars. Amazing. Then there was Beautiful Venom. So for Rewind It Back, I did a vlog. Rewind It Back, Beautiful Venom, I also vlogged. So this is the first book in Rina's new Vipers series, and this is a trilogy of dark hockey romances. The second book actually got pushed forward. It's going to come out in December of this year, which I'm very much looking forward to. So this book, you follow Kane and Dahlia. Dahlia's sister has been injured pretty badly. She's in a coma now. Dahlia wants to know what happened to her sister, and the only clue she really has is this group called Vancor. And Vancor is this very prestigious, culty organization that kind of runs this town and also kind of runs the US. And she wants to infiltrate Vancor to try and find out what happened to her sister and also get her revenge. And she knows that these 3 hockey players are part of Vancor, so she decides to kind of stalk them a little bit. And Kane notices, and he tells her, you know what? You can come with me to initiation. So she obviously has no choice but to agree. Before they get there, he gives her a safe word and tells her, if you use it, you can get out of the initiation, but you'll also have to, leave town. So she does. And basically the initiation is 2 brutal things. And one of them is very sexual, very much non-con, dub-con at the very, very least. And it's basically Kane fucking her, and her, she can safe word out, but I mean, can she really? When if she does, she'll never have answers to what happened to her sister. So she lets that happen. And then eventually, Kane is very intrigued by Dahlia. He wants to know more. So eventually they start this relationship together where they actually also, he realizes that both of them kind of realize that she enjoyed what happened to her. So they start this non-con type, no, not really. They do love doing primal play together, but eventually, they start this relationship, but he has a very awful father who abuses him basically. And he doesn't want him to be with Dahlia. And, Dahlia is still kind of suspicious of Kane since he might have something to do with what happened to her sister. And I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. Definitely my favorite Rina Kent that came out this year. And I feel like she set up the second and third couple very, very well in this book. So I cannot wait to continue on with the series. I loved Dahlia as a heroine. I felt like she gave as much as she got. She was not a meek heroine that just rolled over and accepted everything. I felt like she was smart. She pushed back whenever it was smart to do so. And she just had a steady head on her shoulders. And I just loved, there was one scene where I cheered her on every step of the way when he kind of pushed her away. And she was like, you know what? Fuck you. And the way she handled that, it was very commendable. So I really loved it. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. But this is obviously a very dark romance. So check your triggers before going in. But yeah, I really loved it. And last but most certainly not least, right now this is my favorite, but I do have to say that I just finished this book, so it's very, very fresh in my mind. It's Archer's Voice by Nia Sheridan. Once again, a book I read for the 2014, the books that came out in 2014 video I did. This is very well beloved book, and I can definitely understand why. This book, you follow Bree. After something tragic happened to her, she decides to move away from where she was living, and she ends up in this town called Callihan, where like on one of her first days, she runs into this silent, broody guy, and she kind of thinks he's being rude, but when she actually asks about him, everybody tells her, oh yeah, that's our town recluse. He doesn't speak. They think he's deaf. And since her father, who passed away, is also deaf, she knows sign language. So she kind of makes it her mission to kind of befriend him. So she ends up showing up at his house and tells him, you know, I can teach you sign language. And he tells her, I actually do know sign language. So they end up starting a friendship that ends up developing in more. Like I said, she had something tragic happen to her. He also had something very tragic happen to him. When he was 7, something happened that ended up with him having a scar on his neck, and that also left him not being able to speak. So this is a speechless hero. And I just love this book so much. I felt so unbelievably sorry for Archer, but I also love the way he loved her so much. Since ever since he was 7, so when he was 7, he lived with his uncle, who was also kind of a recluse. So he never really had like human interaction ever since he was 7. Both of his parents died. He doesn't really have a lot of experience. So this is a guy who's never been kissed. This is a virgin hero. So I also really loved her kind of teaching him all that stuff, and the way they communicated, the way they loved each other, the way that, first of all, that how she was determined to try and get to know him when nobody ever did. The way there was just more to him than meets the eye. And like I said, I just felt so sorry for him. The way, like this, he's 23 in this book, but the way he had like over a decade with no real human interaction other than his uncle just broke my heart. But this was beautiful. Like I said, I can understand why this stood the test of time. I gave it 5 stars without a shadow of a doubt. I love this book so much, and I would highly recommend it. If you also have never picked this book up, I would definitely recommend it because it's beautiful. So on the back it says here, one of the top 100 romance novels of all time on Goodreads. How do they know that? Anyway, those were the last 10 books I read. Definitely let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts were. Also, I'd really love to know what was your favorite book that you read recently. If you're down there, leave me a blue heart emoji for Archer's voice. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know by leaving a like if you did. I thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.